There's a burden in my heart. There's a concern I've carried for this nation for so long. And whenever I look at this nation and I look at all the things that are happening within her, one of the major questions in my heart is how can we turn the tide of events and situations and circumstances of this nation? How can things become better? How can the body of Christ intervene in the course of things in this nation? You see, I believe that Nigeria is the way it is because earlier on, our fathers in the body of Christ believed that politics was a dirty game and that no believer should engage in it. I was still very much conscious when the teaching was rife in the body of Christ. In fact, in some circles of the body of Christ, they still hold on to that nobody can engage in politics and remain a Christian because of all that is involved. And as a result of that, we have a situation on our hands where people are walking in all kinds of ungodliness because the Christians don't engage the society through politics. We just keep leaving it for the devil and allowing the devil to take charge of the place. And as long as he is doing that, you can be sure of one thing: the devil will never allow you to have a good life as a child of God. So if he has to influence policies against you, he will. If you have to influence circumstances, economy against you, if you have to, influence the status, the educational sector against you, it will. And for me, you see, there are these seven mountains of society that is usually talked about in the body of Christ in these days. And among those seven mountains of the society, the most critical among them, that I believe is the most critical, is the political. Because once anybody gets on the seat of power, they will influence the other six, no matter how you do it. There's no way that your president will not determine your economic status. There's no way that your president will not impact on your education. There's no way that the current government in existence in the nation will not affect the family, will not affect the media, will not affect the educational sector. I think I've mentioned that already. The arts and entertainment, the economy, the finances. So the other six parts of the nation are affected as long as the political is affected. And that's why it's critical. Now, all of them are critical, absolutely. But I'm telling you that the person who becomes the leader of a nation has a whole lot of power to wield in order to affect the other six. And that's why we cannot allow the devil to keep dominating that field. We need to raise kingdom soldiers. I believe this word kingdom soldiers is not an accident, because we need a set of people who are hungry. Sorry, I shouldn't use that word. People who are hungry enough to see a change in the nation. People who are hungry enough to pay the price. People who are willing to lay down their lives. People who are willing to pay whatever price has to be paid. People who are militant enough. Now, I'm not talking about militant of carrying guns and protesting. No. I'm talking about the kind of people who don't give up in the face of challenges. I have seen a lot of people who look at Christians that are dogged, Christians that are determined, as if they are fanatics. They look at them like, oh, we beg you, you don't want to listen. Now, if you're somebody that you're a Christian that follows principles and saying things must be done the right way, usually people will tag you as a fanatic. They say, oh, things are like, your own is too much. Those things happen because we don't have militant Christians. In fact, it has become a cliche these days. When people are hurting you or cheating you and you fight back, they say, but you're a Christian. Because I'm a Christian, I'm supposed to let you just cheat me for no reason? Let you just walk over me? Being a Christian does not mean that I'm a footmat for your feet. And that's what has to happen. We have to have people who are strong enough to take a stand. And take a stand in such a way that they say, if we die, we die. You see, we need more martyrs in the body of Christ. And the martyrs of today don't need to be stoned for heresy and stuff like that because they stand for the truth. They may be killed by assassins. They may be killed by thugs. They may be killed by their political, people who consider them to be a threat. But I want you to know this, that no singular blood of a believer that is shed in the cause of the kingdom is ever a waste. Every time the blood of a saint is shed, God will raise hundreds and thousands in your place. Your blood is a seed. If you are standing on the cause of righteousness, it's never a waste. Stephen was killed, and another person was raised. The person that was collecting the clothes of his killers, the person that stood guard to watch over the whole thing as it was going on. God raised him in the place of Stephen. What Stephen could not do, he did more. That's exactly how the kingdom works. And then Paul raised so many others in the body of Christ. That's how the kingdom works. So if we are talking about politics in the body of Christ, we can never say that, oh, let's just leave it for the devil to take charge of. Let's just allow whatever anybody wants to do it. No, things must change. Believers must own their own part of the body of the nation. And Christians must arise. And they must arise in such a way that they take a stand that whatever happens, whatever price we have to pay, whatever thing anybody will do, whatever thing anybody will say, we don't care. What we care about and what we care for is seeing the will of God done, is seeing the counsel of God fulfilled, is seeing prophecies over this nation fulfilled. And we don't mind fulfilling that using policies. Yes, as legislators, we don't mind using that as executives, standing in such a place where we are saying, okay, this is the will of God for this state, and it must be done. Where the cabals and those that say that they are something are rendered useless. Now, I'm not saying that you should be a Christian and be senseless. No, I'm not saying that. There are people that even if they are not Christians, they hold a critical place in your political agenda as a Christian. You must know how to relate with them. That's wisdom. That's perfectly, that's needed in the body. It's not that everybody in your circle will be Christians. Even as a Christian governor, all your commissioners cannot be Christians. So you have to know how to relate with everyone in love. But what I'm saying is that you must be strong enough to pay whatever price has to be paid in order to move the nation in the right direction, in order to shift things in the affairs of the nation, in order to allow whatever God has ordained concerning the nation to be fulfilled. And that's our assignment. That's something we must be committed to. That's a burden we must be willing to carry. Don't just be a Christian for being a Christian's sake. Be a kingdom soldier. Be somebody who is willing to fight for the territories that God has given to him or her, and to protect it with whatever they need to protect it with in order to see the will of God done therein. I call you blessed.